The following CBC special presentation is available with described video.
To write a book, we give 3, 5, 10 years of our lives to a messy, often uncooperative project. We share the best and most vulnerable parts of ourselves with the world. And at the end of all this struggle and soul-searching, we just want readers to receive our work with as much love as we put into making it. Writers are idealists, dreamers, we're messy people, and we're also the bravest people I know. My name is Ian Williams, and I am an author.
When I wrote my first book in 2015, I felt like I was sneaking into the most fabulous party. Nearly 10 years and 2 books later, I feel so lucky I got to stay. My name is Johanna Schneller, and I am an author.
I feel so blessed to have a voice that can blow off the rafters, but writing a book is the ultimate gift to inspire others to write their stories, invite us into a new experience, and have our voices heard. My name is Misha Bruger-Gosman-Lee, and I am an author.
It is such a privilege to create a world and invite others in. Like dinner guests, you hope readers find nourishment, try something new, get uncomfortable, maybe have a good cry. You hope when it's over, your guests say, "For sure, I'd go back." And so you can cook another day. My name is Mark Sakamoto. I'm now very hungry, and I'm an author.
From Toronto, it's the 2024 Giller Prize. Tonight, the author of one of these 5 extraordinary books will walk away with one of the biggest literary prizes in the world. Stay with us as we celebrate the very best in Canadian fiction and find out who will take home the $100,000 Giller Prize. Please welcome our first presenter, acclaimed author, poet, and winner of the 2019 Giller Prize for his novel Reproduction, Ian Williams.
Good evening, and welcome to the 31st Annual Giller Prize. There is no question that the world has changed significantly since the prize was handed out last year. And we're all, to various degrees, tense, confused, hurt, even disappointed with each other. But what hasn't changed is the Giller's commitment to support and promote Canadian fiction. Of course, as an author, winning this prize was a definitive moment in my life. I want other writers to have their lives changed. Within the hour, we'll find out who will be the winner of the 2024 Giller Prize and walk away with $100,000 and new readers across the country. Throughout the show, we'll meet each of our 5 finalists who were shortlisted by this year's Giller Prize jury. So now, let's meet our first Giller finalist. As a novelist, poet, essayist, and children's book writer, Anne Fleming has done it all. Her latest book, Curiosities, has been described as a thrilling literary historical novel with a modern twist. What happens when an amateur historian unearths 5 manuscripts that describe the same people and events, but from different points of view? The Toronto Star called it a riot of cerebral invention, while the Giller jury wrote, "Curiosities is a captivating story of hope, change, and belonging." Please welcome Anne Fleming.
Curiosities is a book that has lived with me for a long time. A sustaining idea behind it was the experience of wonder, and relatedly, the twin experiences of curiosity. Curiosity is something that impels us toward finding things out, and curiosity is something that is voyeuristic or exploitative. There are 4 tales in the book of Joan, orphaned by plague and later accused of witchcraft, of Tom, her young neighbor, who trades clothes with a dead friend to live as mail, and later sails to Hudson Bay, of Lady Margaret, exuberant, amateur natural philosopher and champion of Joan, and of John Hurd, Tom's school friend turned witch hunter. 4 tales, and I hope, many wonders.
I used to love writing at night. I love that feeling of the untrammeled night lying stretched out ahead of me. But then, 22 odd years ago, I had a kid and that all had to change. I'm Anne Fleming. I live in Victoria, BC. My book is Curiosities. Victoria is a city that is surpassingly lucky to have spectacular bookstores as well as spectacular scenery. My neighborhood has Books and Shenanigans, which is just a lovely little neighborhood bookstore. The owner is a delight. She always greets me warmly. And she's really out to champion local authors and to create a thriving reading, writing community.
Oh my gosh! Congratulations! Hi, Annie!
This is my office. You'll notice a few key things here. One is there must be a steaming mug of tea at all times. Here we have the stack, which represents partial research materials for Curiosities, and these books on the shelf, which again represents only really a smidgen of the research that I did. When I feel stuck or I need a break, I play a little music. I love to play the lute. At the end of a day of sitting at my desk, it feels really great to get up, take the dog for a walk, and come down here to the water. It's a great place to come and listen to the water and look at the birds and just be aware that this world is out here.
Congratulations, Anne. Our next finalist, Conor Kerr, is no stranger to acclaim. His previous book, Avenue of Champions, was longlisted for the Giller Prize in 2022, and he was called a writer to watch by CBC. His latest book, Prairie Edge, is a brilliant Indigenous Western thriller where gritty characters face their lineage against a backdrop of kinship, imperialism, and love. The Chicago Review of Books called it cinematic with many memorable scenes, intriguing characters, and sharp dialogue. And the Giller jury wrote, he extracts maximum amounts of comedy and pathos. Please meet Conor Kerr.
Howdy. Prairie Edge is a book born out of a love for what a possible future could be living in reciprocity with nature, a removal of colonial violence towards Indigenous peoples in the land, and a return to matriarchal governance. It is a book where the characters and the author still believe that they can live a good life under endless skies, walking on grass seas of prairie wool and looking out over herds of endless bison. The book speaks for itself in regards to current attitudes towards social media hype, protest culture, activism, and neoliberal attitudes towards Indigenous peoples. It is a love letter to the prairie and to the cities that exist there. I wrote it with the dream that someday we can all live a better life. So as a writer, One of my biggest inspirations comes from the dogs. We have Niska, Moose, and Cleo. And these three hang out with me quite a bit.
Hey, this is Conor Kerr. I'm the author of Prairie Edge, and I live on Treaty 6 territory in Amiskwaciy-Waskahegan, Edmonton, Alberta.
So the first thing I have to do in the morning as part of my writing routine is take all the dogs out. They're quite energetic, so they need to get their walk in the morning, or else we're not getting anything done that day. This is a big inspiration for the novel, this landscape being right where my ancestors in the Papastace Cree Nation lived, and my grandmother would tell stories about how they would live in the ravine, and you could hear the fiddle music coming out of it. And then the land was taken away back in the 1880s. So one of the things I listen to when I'm writing, and especially writing about the prairies, is the old Ian Tyson albums. And he has a line on one of his songs, Land of Shining Mountain, where he talks about how the old cowboy wishes he could see the buffalo. Maybe they'll come back again. And it's a line that really stuck with me for a lot of the writing of this book, Prairie Edge. So a few of the things that I take inspiration from, I have on display kind of here in the house, especially for a book about bison being called Prairie Edge. I have a lot of these bison teeth that my uncle, my cousin, and my dad and I found along the rivers. And my dad and my uncle actually make these into necklaces, which is kind of the most Métis thing you could possibly do. So this is one of my favorite photos because it shows my grandmother, father, his grandmother, and then his great-grandmother. And his great-grandmother was born on the Papastace Cree Nation, which is on the lands that we're standing right now. And it reminds me a lot of just the space that we're at and the generations that have come before.
Coming up, we'll meet the other finalists and find out who's taking home $100,000 when the 2024 Giller Prize returns here on CBC. Welcome back to the 2024 Giller Prize. Now, please welcome award-winning author and past Giller Prize jury chair, Mark Sakamoto.
Good evening, everyone. I am so thrilled to join you for the most anticipated night in Canadian fiction. As a former chair of the Giller Prize jury myself, I know the many long hours that go into reading, debating, and selecting a winner from the country's roster of incredible writers. A labor-intensive but totally joyous and tremendously rewarding task. Our gratitude goes out to the year's Giller Prize jury for taking up the mantle this year. Thank you to 2023 shortlisted author Kevin Chong, iconic Canadian singer-songwriter Molly Johnson, and Canadian author and jury chair Noah Richler. As someone that found truth and origin in writing myself, I appreciate the power and impact of nurturing the next generation of writers with real opportunity. The Giller Mantella Scholarship was created to give Black, Indigenous, and racialized high school graduates across Canada an opportunity to continue studying creative writing and literature with a $10,000 award scholarship. Thank you. Yeah, give it up. It's a lot of dough. Thank you, Sylvia Mantella and the Mantella Corporation for making that possible. So we are proud to announce this year's inaugural recipients of the Giller Mantella Scholarship: Nita Atik, a future English major at the University of British Columbia; Summer Jane, another UBC student and aspiring writer; And embarking on a degree at the University of Toronto, Yun Si Lee. Congratulations. There's a U of T alum somewhere back there. Okay, now back to tonight's writers. Our third Giller finalist won 2021 PEN Canada New Voices Award, and her work has appeared in literary magazines and anthologies around the world. Deepa Rajagopalan, Peacock of Instagram, a truly evocative title, is a powerful collection of short stories about the immigrant's journey and the consequences of being overlooked. It was cited as an arresting debut collection of appealing characters by the Giller jury, and CBC Books called it engrossing and witty. Please welcome Deepa.
Peacocks of Instagram was inspired by my desire to explore the space between those who wield power and those who don't have any. I was interested in using language to create resonance on the page when voices of people are silenced. Could I tell the story of a powerless divorced woman living in a basement selling disfigured pieces of pottery on the internet and make it funny and enfranchising? Could I craft a story about a woman needing an urgent organ transplant to survive through the lens of childlike curiosity rather than pity? Could I give quiet agency to an underprivileged hotel housekeeper who's up against a labyrinth of discrimination and sexual harassment? Peacocks of Instagram examine structures of privilege and misogyny, both obvious and internalized.
I'm usually up early in the morning, 4 or 5 in the morning, and I sit in my living room on this orange chair and I write for a couple of hours, and my dog usually sleeps on the couch, wondering why anyone would wake up at this hour. Hi, my name is Deepa Rajagopalan, and I'm the author of the short story collection Peacocks of Instagram. I was born in Saudi Arabia and raised there and in India. As a young adult, I moved to the US and then to Canada. I now live in Guelph. Here's a picture of my whiteboard from the time when I was writing this book, Peacocks of Instagram. There is a list of books I was trying to read during that time. There's a quote from Zadie Smith that says, "The very reason I write is so that I might not sleepwalk through my entire life," which I really love. I love going on long walks and runs, and there are so many trails in Guelph, which I love. I untangle a lot of my ideas during my walks. I work in Toronto, so I find myself on the train often. And it's a great place to write because there's no Wi-Fi. I also write from a cafe near my home. It also has bad Wi-Fi, and I edited most of Peacocks from there. I love going to art museums. Unfortunately for me, my daughter loves them too. We play this little game where we try to guess the artistic movement a piece of art was part of without looking, and it's a lot of fun. There's a story in my book called Bestsellers about a woman who turns to pottery during a difficult time in her life. Here I am at a pottery studio called Clay Bar that my daughter and I frequent, and here are some of the pieces we made on the wheel. The better ones were made by my daughter. Though the story is very much fiction, like her, I love pottery and I make dreadful looking pieces. I don't seem to get any better, but I can't stop. I love that I can give form to something formless.
Congratulations, Deepa. We're getting close to announcing the winner. Our fourth finalist hails from Quebec and has struck gold with his very first novel, What I Know About You. It's a searing love story featuring two people from different worlds, facing family secrets, shame, and romantic heartbreak. Under the original French title, Ce que je sais de toi has won multiple international awards. La Presse said Éric Chacour's writing is silken, suggestive, skillful, and touching. For the English translation by Pablo Strauss, the Giller jury wrote, "It's a quiet, touching story in which the acts of yearning, stymied hearts transcend their troubled genesis." Let's please meet Éric Chacour.
Well, I sometimes wonder what the child I was would think of the adult I had become. I think my main character, Tarek, felt dizzy when he saw the gap between the love he felt deep inside and what society allowed him. And starting from this feeling, I wanted to write a great story of love and family that would take place between Egypt and Canada. My own Romeo and Juliet, but between two men, and set in the country my parents grew up in. Thank you. My first dream was to be a lyricist, but since I didn't know how to compose, the next best thing was to write a novel, so here we are.
My name is Éric Chacour. I'm the author of What I Know About You, and I live and write in Montreal.
So this is my favorite place for writing, on the couch. And what you see in the background are Egyptian embroideries made by women artists coming from a small town in Egypt, and a small part of my novel takes place there. Ce que je sais de toi, donc c'est une histoire qui se passe en Égypte dans la fin du XXe siècle. C'est l'histoire d'un médecin qui avait une vie programmée sur des rails et qui un jour va faire une rencontre qui va faire dérailler cette vie. C'est très compliqué de ne pas pouvoir vivre son identité dans certains pays. C'est très compliqué. Moi, j'ai pas écrit un livre militant. J'ai pas écrit un livre qui revendique quoi que ce soit. J'ai juste raconté une histoire. Pas envie d'avoir le cœur de carte postale, de décrire les monuments, les trucs, les machins. Mais les odeurs, et puis les odeurs de cuisine. Il a failli s'appeler « Ce que je sais de toi, sentait l'ail et l'anis », qui est une phrase du roman. Et puis on retrouvait déjà les odeurs dans cette phrase-là. Bon, après, mon éditeur m'a dit, avec tes histoires d'odeurs d'ail, on va pas en vendre 3. Donc on a un peu revu le truc. Tout ce que je sais, c'est que Brel disait « Le talent, c'est l'envie », et j'avais envie depuis longtemps. Donc peut-être que j'avais un peu ce talent-là en moi. Je leur ai envoyé mon manuscrit, ça s'est fait assez rapidement. Moins d'1 an plus tard, le livre sortait, et quelques semaines après sa parution, on vendait les droits pour l'international. Donc oui, en fait, les prix, c'est très chouette d'en avoir, mais c'est surtout que derrière un prix, il y a des lecteurs, et derrière des lecteurs, il y a des cœurs qui battent. Et c'est ça qui me touche beaucoup.
Please welcome award-winning and internationally acclaimed Canadian soprano, the exquisite Misha Brugger-Gosman-Lee.
Good evening, everyone. How I love this prize, especially when they describe me as exquisite. And being on this stage to celebrate, above all, our very best Canadian talent. Now, let's meet our 5th and final Giller author, Anne Michaels. Yes. Anne Michaels' books. Sorry, Anne, come on up. You sure? Okay, let me talk about you. Anne Michaels' books have been translated into more than 45 languages, have won dozens of international awards, including the Orange Prize for Fiction, the Guardian Fiction Prize, and she has been shortlisted twice for the Giller Prize. Her latest book, Held, is composed of 12 vignettes that take place over more than a century. All are linked and all tell a story woven through time and space. The Giller jury said her mastery of word and situations is understated but insistent. And the Guardian praised Held as a cleverly fragmentary tale of love, memory, and time. Please welcome Ann Michaels.
Hell begins with a question. We know life is finite. Why should we believe death lasts forever? Held asks if there is any consolation to be found in our mortality. Two characters, Mara and Alan, are lying awake. Both have worked in war zones, Mara as a doctor, Alan as a journalist. Mara asks Alan an agonizing question upon which, for her, everything depends. Do you think it's possible for good to survive long enough, to wait, to outlast, to endure, while evil consumes itself? Alan, in his own misery, answers, no. Then he looks at her. He knows with all his soul he loves her. It's a very different matter considering her misery rather than his own. Then he says, maybe. That journey from no to maybe is at the heart of Held.
In the small room where I work and where I've written for so many years in the middle of the night, there are teetering piles of paper and shelves crammed with books, a disorder that only makes sense to me. I envy, but only theoretically, the idea of the pristine working place. My name is Ann Michaels. I'm in Toronto, and I'm the author of the novel Held. I grew up in the city and have lived here for many years, and like many writers, I walk to see where an idea can take me. I feel I have walked every inch of this city. It is a privilege to walk in a place one knows intimately, to see and re-see, to be continually surprised in the way that only such intimacy can surprise us. I feel very fortunate to be able to walk through an idea in this city. And for me, walking almost always brings a kind of clarity. There are photographs of those closest to me to keep me company. My dear John Berger and a play we wrote together, Rail Tracks. John and I communicated almost every day for over 30 years. When mobile phones came out, he mailed me one from France, so excited that now we could talk from everywhere. The joy of receiving that phone in the mail was immediate. I hope that my books can be something like receiving that phone in the mail. Here and here and here, we are not alone.
Coming up, we are moments away from finding out who will win the $100,000 prize. But first, the finalists take us between the pages when the 2024 Giller Prize continues here on CBC. It's the 2024 Giller Prize, the biggest night in Canadian literature. Please welcome back to the stage our 5 finalists and our moderator, broadcaster and journalist, Johanna Schneller.
Thank you very much. It's so cool to be here with all of you at this most relaxed moment of your life. In the past, I had the honor of hosting Between the Pages events live in Ottawa and Toronto, where the finalists discussed their books with the audience and with each other. We had fabulous conversations about writing and life, and I'm thrilled that tonight we're going to do a very mini version of that. So let's go, Between the Pages. Now, I know you're all modest and polite Canadians, but you're Giller Prize nominees, so for the next 6 minutes, I want you all to feel yourselves a little, as the kids say. Anne M., your language is so rigorous and specific. When do you know you have it, like the exact image or even the exact word? What does that feel like?
It's, you never really know that, do you? I mean, you reach a point, especially with a novel, where you simply cannot do one more thing. And that always leads me to the next novel, because I know that I've reached questions that I cannot possibly, that would just explode the fabric of the book I'm working on. So it leads me straight into what I have to do next.
Well, I hope you always have more questions at the end, because we need more novels from you all the time. Éric, is there a question that you asked yourself or an idea that you put out in this book that you're particularly proud of?
Oh, that's a funny one, Johanna.
I know, very light.
I don't know. Maybe I'm proud of having written a love story that looks like me in a certain way. Something set up in the country my parents grew up in. And I don't know, hopefully that brings some light to people. I would say that.
Beautiful, thank you. Deepa, similar sort of question. On your walks and runs, did you ever have an idea that actually made you stop and like that surprise that you actually thought that? Have you ever written a line where you think, oh my God, I'm not sure anyone else has ever written this?
Well, I think if I'm stuck with a story, it helps to go on a walk. Like there's one story that I kind of composed entirely during walks before I actually started writing it. In the book, it's called Rahel. And so the writing process was quick. I finished the story in like a week because it was all in my head and it all came to me during a walk.
Wow. I think we all need to give a big shout out to the dogs of the, who knew that the greatest inspiration for writing was one's dog? I think that's fantastic. Anne Fleming, when did you know you were going to put yourself, the character Anne, in Curiosities? And do you think every novel is kind of a coded autobiography, even just emotionally maybe?
I think no. Answer to the second part is no. And answer to the first part is actually, the novel took me so long to write, I cannot even remember. It's at, I got the idea in the 90s. I started researching, the earliest document on my computer is that for this novel is dated 2007. So I worked on it for a very long time, went through a lot of different iterations, and somewhere along the way it felt like really fun and playful to include myself as a character, kind of introducing the different manuscripts. So it felt right, but it's been there for a while.
Yeah, right what you know. Yeah. Thank you. Conor, you navigate the line between anger and humor so adroitly. How do you know which is which?
I think there's a mix of both of them in that. And I mean, that's kind of the whole hook, eh? Like, you bring everyone in with a good joke, and then you just blast them with a little bit of anger at the end there to really get your point across. So and in particular, one of my favorite things to do is just kind of have that little bit of a sarcastic edge on a lot of the writing to really make people think, is this a joke or is this actually serious? And I'm getting people reading it both ways now. So.
Yeah, that's perfect. There was one page that maybe you should have proofread a little better, right? Can you talk about your dedication page?
Ooh, yeah, maybe. No, I can. Yeah, thank you, though. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ask me later. I'll tell you this story.
That might be an off-camera dedication page story.
Now we just have 2 minutes left, so this is your chance to maybe ask each other a question. You've gotten to know each other a little bit. What did anybody learn about anybody else that surprised them? Do any of you want to ask the other how they do this or that? I don't know, Deepa, I'm looking at you. Maybe you want to start.
Yeah, I tried to, start talking to Anne Fleming about this during our tour, but I'm really interested how this process of research was for you, because your book is, very specifically historical fiction, and, how was that process of researching it?
It was very heavily researched, probably way too much, I think. Partly it just drew me on because I was always interested in to finding out more and feeling like I really wanted to enter that world. And so I had to read a lot and immerse myself in it as much as I can. But at a certain point, I really should have just said, stop. It's fiction, make it up, you don't have to find out which Bible they were using in 1608. You don't need to know that.
Honestly, I could talk to you guys all night. Unfortunately, the clock is ticking and we're getting up to the big moment, so thank you very much.
Find out who will be the winner of the 2024 Giller Prize. You don't want to miss this. It's happening next here on CBC. It's the 2024 Giller Prize. Please welcome back tonight's presenters and the executive director of the Giller Prize, Ilana Rabinovich.
Thank you. It is so great. It is so great to be joined on the stage by such illustrious company and true friends. Thank you to CBC, and thank you to our generous donors and sponsors. I also want to thank Roger Griffiths for his good heart, his unwavering support, and creative vision over these past many months. Ian really did say it best at the top of the show. This has been a year of change, division, and instability in the arts. However, I remain emboldened by my father Jack's singular vision for creating this prize for the recognition and celebration of Canadian fiction. It is and will always be about the author's voices and nothing more. And so with that, as Jack would say, and I must add, if you've been out in this town lately, this really does resonate.
For the price of a dinner in this town, you can buy all the books. So buy the books and eat at home.
Now, my friends, please join me to announce the winner of the 2024 Giller Prize. Here we go. The winner is Ann Michaels for Hell.
I'm going to switch these so I can read to you. It's been tremendous to get to know the other shortlisted writers with whom I feel a very great solidarity. They've written beautiful books, and I hope you will all read them and pass them around to everyone you know. Everything I write is a form of witness against war, indifference, against amnesia of every sort. From when do we begin to count the dead? I've asked that question all my writing life, and I've been seeking in the darkest moments in history a specific hope, a hope that is inevitable, unassailable, a hope that one can trust with one's life, the only hope worth offering a reader. When writer and reader meet each other's gaze on the page, there is the possibility that something can be mended. Literature situates us morally. It recognizes the crucial distinction between what is impossible and what is futile. Everything I write is against futility. There is no moral righteousness. There is only morality. A book, especially this book, is nothing if it does not listen. Every book bears witness. Every book its own form of resistance and assertion. I'm here tonight in solidarity with that purpose, in solidarity with the long-listed and short-listed writers and every writer inside and outside this room. I am here because a book is not about the writer, but the reader. It is the reader who holds the true moral power that a book can offer. Held makes a distinction between rescue and repair. The character of Mara, who works as a doctor in war zones, describes being in the operating room, alert to the meticulous order and detail of the human body, in defiance of everything that has been done to it. The fact that the operating room might be bombed 5 minutes later makes the act of repair more important, not less. There are two kinds of accounting in this world, and between them exists an unconscionable link. Complicity is knot within knot. We can cut through it, or harder, much, much harder, we can untie the knot. I'm standing here tonight in solidarity with Canadian publishers and booksellers. A short time ago, less than 70 years, we lived in a country where only 14 books of Canadian fiction were published in a year, fewer in the entire country than the long list for this prize. Our literary history is one of phenomenal assertion. And now, as then, we need unity, not just within one community, but among all the arts, to forge practical alliances that proclaim our values. For over 30 years, I've been published in Canada by McClelland and Stewart and Penguin Random House. There is no team more committed to what matters. The incredible Stephanie Sinclair, Kristen Cochran, Jared Bland, Anita Chong, Tara Walker, Cameron Waller. The jury citation is deeply meaningful to me, writer to writer, artist to artist, reader to reader. Every day writing Held, I ask myself, what do we need now? What voice might be small enough to be heard? Margaret Atwood's embrace of Held and her word, timely, could not have meant more to me. Held says, in the places we feel most abandoned, we are not alone. I write in solidarity with the moral purpose of every writer bearing witness. I write because the dead can read. Every reader throughout the decades who has written and spoken to me, whose gaze has met mine on the page, has given me courage. And with every word I'm speaking tonight, I want to give that same courage. Thank you.
Congratulations to Ann Michaels, the 2024 Giller Prize winner. Good night and happy Gillers.